Hey there folks, welcome to this video, and here I'm going to be giving a review for the Singapore Grand Prix, round 15 of this season's F1 World Championship, where today we saw Sebastian Vettel pick up his first F1 classified victory in nearly 400 days, 392 to be exact. Of course, it's the first time he took the checkered flag since Canada, but of course there's a whole debate over that. If you want to check out my video on that, you can do that in the description below. I'm also going to be providing a couple of other links for you to check out. It's Ferrari's first 1-2 since 2017 at the Hungarian Grand Prix. It's also Ferrari's first time getting 3 wins in a row since 2008, when they got 4 out of the first 5 races. However, looking at the standings, we saw the Haas didn't get a point, and we saw that Robert Kubica beat Kevin Magnussen, so let's start off talking about the race winners, and well, it was a brilliant job by Ferrari and by SEB over the weekend. Whilst it looked like over the course of Friday Mercedes had the stronger car in the race trim, Ferrari were able to get a good qualifying, though SEB of course had mistakes on his second run in Q3, which meant that he only started third. And in the race they managed to out-strategize Mercedes. Of course, Leclerc wasn't exactly best impressed, because essentially SEB got the undercut on him. But you can understand Ferrari's strategy here. After all, it looked like they were going to be re-emerging into a lot of traffic, so it was good to try and pull the trigger, maybe even if it was only a lap earlier, to try and see if you were able to get the jump on Mercedes. What's more interesting though is Mercedes on that lap had supposedly tried a dummy pit stop. Could they have actually won the race had they decided to pit then? Maybe, but we'll have to wait to find out. Remember that SEB's one stop was actually slowed by the fact that Verstappen was coming in. And let's talk about Max as well. Good for him to get a third place, and it was a solid drive. It's weird to think that in an era where we're talking about Mercedes being incredibly dominant, the race where they don't get into the top 3, and it's a Ferrari 1-2, and on top of that, Verstappen's in third place, you don't really talk about what he's done. He started what, in 4th, ahead of Valtteri Bottas, and managed to get ahead of Hamilton through the rounds of pit stops. So it was well played by him. It was a good result as well. It's not like we're finding these particularly surprising nowadays, though it was interesting that Red Bull didn't exactly get as much of an advantage as you would have thought they would on a street circuit, especially how they've been performing on circuits, whether or not street or permanent, that have a similar kind of profile to Singapore. Then you have to say well done to Alex Albon for bringing it home in 6th, and as for Mercedes, whilst they did finish down in 4th and 5th, they managed to at least score some points to make sure that they could maintain a slightly less but still incredibly strong championship lead. Down the pack, of course, there are some stories that you really should talk about. Pierre Gasly getting P8 after starting on the hard tyres, being the only runner to do so. That was a wonderful strategy by Toro Rosso, which really helped out with the late safety cars. Antonio Giovinazzi led a race. A race full of milestones in which Ferrari got their 15,000th lap lead with Charles Leclerc. Giovinazzi picked up the first lap lead for Alfa Romeo in 35 years. And also the first time that somebody not from the top 3 teams has led a race since 2015, Silverstone, when it was a Williams. And even when we look outside the points, in 11th place you had Romain Grosjean, who got away from a tangle with George Russell. The other Haas of Kevin Magnussen got fastest lap. Yeah, look, he got fastest lap. What? Kubica still beat him. Of course, yeah, a lot of the controversy has been served around what's been happening with Rich Energy. But it was still a solid finish, and it probably would have been better had they not have decided to do extra pit stops under safety cars late in the race. Carlos Sainz recovered to 12th place, which is brilliant considering the lap 1 incident that he had with Hulkenberg. Lance Stroll brought it back to 13th, again having had an incident in which he had caused himself a puncture. Daniel Ricciardo again, after getting disqualified from qualifying and picking up a puncture of his own, came home in 14th. Kvyat, after a crash with Kimi Raikkonen, came home in 15th. And to be honest, if you look at incidents like the one that Kvyat had and the one that Grosjean had, I'd say that the other driver, the one that got taken out, was at fault. Because with where they were on the track, with where they were positioned, there was always space on the right-hand side. But it's interesting to think the two drivers that managed to get new contracts signed this weekend ended up in crashes that put someone else out of the race. Kubica brought it home in 16th, which is nice. Also worth noting that no driver actually got lapped. Partially because of the fact that we had so many safety cars. But even then, regardless of that, a lot of the pack still stayed quite tightly together because of the way that the top 10 tried to do tyre saving in the early parts of the race. It was a really good race to enjoy, to sit back and to watch. And it ran to the full 2 hours as well. It's rare you get that nowadays in F1. It's also rare to get 3 safety cars. But Singapore's always one that throws up a nice set of surprises. Sure, Leclerc didn't get 3 wins in a row like everyone wanted him to, but you've got to be happy for Seb Vettel picking up a win. It's very hard not to be. And you've got to be happy for Ferrari picking up a 1 too. Regardless of what you think of Ferrari themselves, they've managed to actually come alive in the second half of this season.
Tastes like it is made in Austria by another drinks manufacturer. Okay, thank you so much for watching. If you want to check out my video on Rich Energy, I'll put the link to some of them in the description below, including one got over 800 views about the ongoing story, as well as the eventual kind of annulment and the first that we knew the Haas and Rich Energy was going to split. You can also check out some of my other race reviews in the description below. You can check out the Spoiler Group channel where we have just released a new video. Round 4 of our little championship. You can check out all the rules as well on the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye for now.